I'm going to take a different tack from Tony's, a very different tack from Tony's, which is
That's
that
good. Do that.
The responsibility of government and the responsibility of business. And the government has poured money into basic research, which hasn't been targeted to a particular problem. Other sets of programs are targeted to particular problems, but the reason that countries around the world are building innovation agendas is because they want to do what the United States did after World War II. So what happened after World War II? Well, during the war, the United States poured money into research to develop technologies that prevailed, and we won the war. Radar was developed at MIT.
No, excuse me. Radar began in the United Kingdom.
In England. In England. I'm sorry.
And MIT picked it up and ran with it. Okay.
Well, we collaborated.
Okay.
We didn't just pick it up.
Okay,
There are
okay,
British scientists and engineers who brought.
They flew across the Atlantic with that black box.
We were allies.
Okay. Sorry.
We did win the war.
I'm an American citizen. I just want to say that in my own defense. Good.
And the decision was taken following actually I learned something fascinating. There was a white paper about what the United States should do after World War II, authored by Vannevar Bush. It ends up that Paul Samuelson was one of the drafters of it, quite extraordinarily, the remarkable economist. In any case, so the United States understood that if they poured the same kind of funding into research enterprises, largely at universities, not in separate research institutions, that we could drive the kind of innovation that would produce what we now know are the industries of today. And boy, did that work. And now, I mean, I get calls every week, every day from universities and countries around the world who want to understand MIT's piece in the innovation economy. But the point is that this incredible investment of research into areas, frankly, that just look kind of curious and interesting, but we didn't know what the products were going to be, produced this incredible economic engine that we have enjoyed in this country after World War II. And they were not targeted so much toward a problem. They were targeted to technologies that looked as though they might be able to produce something, but we didn't know what that something was going to look like. I believe that is government's responsibility because, boy, you waste a lot of money. We haven't figured out how to make that more efficient. I mean, maybe we can make the innovation piece, where you're turning into a product more efficient, but we haven't figured out how to make that early part more efficient, except by getting the smartest people in the world to come together at these remarkable institutions and to work together to create something that is brand new. It's creativity. And I'll tell you, it's one of the things I worry about the United States is everywhere around the world is racing to replicate what we did so effectively, and it's great. We're open source. Anyone can copy it. It's not such a complicated set of ingredients. But one of the things we benefited from is the immigration path to the United States. Nazi Germany did us a huge favor by scaring off their most brilliant people out of Germany, many of them
sitting next to you on the right. Yeah. Mr. Brown came from the United Kingdom.
In any case, so it is that magic mix. So the government has to fund the stuff before you know it's going to be productive and before you understand there's going to be a profit. And then it gets picked up by business as it gets turned into a product. And it's a wonderful, it's an innovation pipeline. And we have to have all the pieces in place in order to, run stuff through that pipeline as rapidly as possible. Do we always get it right? No. But we have been enormously productive in this country, and every country around the world wants to replicate that.
Just, one point I would make is we've had, looking back on it, we rationalize the way the system works, but I would argue that one of the great things about the U.S. system is it's incredibly messy, okay? And a lot of innovation, a lot of invention is incredibly messy. And I don't think we'll ever have a national innovation policy. I mean, come on, the time horizon is the vote next week, okay, on the financial reform bill, right? And the election cycle is 4 years, right? And they run for 2 to 3. It shows you how much time they have to govern. So I think the messiness is actually good. I think the point that Susan made about the open borders has been instrumental.
Crucial.
Our education system is uneven, but it is open, and people are educating themselves into their 80s and 90s, okay, which is quite different from, in France or Japan, or Korea, if you haven't been selected winnowed out by 16, 17, or 18, you're not going to contribute to your full potential. So I think there's a lot of messiness in America that we just need to embrace and then continue to make the best of. Our entrepreneurs. Anybody can be an entrepreneur. Anybody can start up a business, and anybody can go broke 10 times and come back. No, seriously,
Yeah.
and come back an 11th time.
On that question of
and start up a
immigration,
business.
Tim, and if you want to disagree with me, you have about 3 seconds in which to do it.
You want to agree,
about
go ahead.
immigration, but
That's what I
I
was
think
planning
we
on.
all agreed. I hope the panelists agree that the present immigration policy of the United States stinks. Keep so many bright people out. When we get them in, they let them go home.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I was going to suggest one of the other roles for government, as well as investing in basic research, which I completely buy and believe in, is to innovate around the services that it's supposed to be offering its citizens. And I think as the gulf widens, as it is steadily widening between the quality of experience we have from government as citizens, but compared to the quality of experience we have from business, that gulf widens, then it not only does it make for a poor life experience for those of us that live here, but it also absolutely sets the wrong example. And I think what we're starting to see in some other countries is government attempting to innovate around the things it's responsible for, whether it's immigration or delivering social services or policing or whatever it might be. The UK, Finland, other countries that are focused on that, and there has been up until recently very little interest in that in the US. It's interesting to see that the current administration is beginning to get interest in the idea of using innovation to actually improve the quality of services that they're supposed to deliver to their citizens. And I think that in itself not only helps generate lots of interesting innovation that ultimately might leach out into the private sector, but it actually improves the quality of our lives.
Sure. Well, I would think that if the government were to be involved or wanted to be involved in innovation, that's where they could invest time and money. Now, we talked about investing in technology. I agree. If there's nanotechnology or new technology that we don't know what the market for is yet, I'm all for that because we're inventing. I separate innovation process from the inventing process. Inventing, we know what problem, or generally, we may have a problem to solve, we don't know how to solve it, so we're just experimenting and guessing. But if the government were to be involved in this, they spend money very freely to try to generate economic growth, but it's not focused on markets where you could recognize commercial value. All I'm saying is, if you could change that one piece, everything would flow much more smoothly. Instead of investing dollars in 100 markets, one of which is going to be successful, why don't we invest and be very proficient at picking the right markets and invest in 100 markets, 80 of which will be successful? Everything goes up. Productivity goes up. The number of jobs goes up. It's a revolution in innovation. And it all comes back, and I think a lot of people have mixed reception to my thinking because they don't realize yet that innovation is a process that can have an 80% success rate. They think it's this.
17% is no good. 17 is no good. It's 80%. How did you get from 17 to 80?
Well, like I said, we've been studying the innovation process for the past 20 years. We break it down to very systematic, quantitative set of data. In other words, what we're trying to do is get the data that we need to make the right decisions up front, so we only put good products into product development. That's really the problem with innovation. Development works great. Companies develop products all the time. They just develop the wrong products about 80% of the time.
I want to thank everybody on this panel. I think it's been absolutely brilliant what they've contributed, and John's summation was magnificent. Thank you very much.